What if I told you that a sudden storm could turn a simple outdoor trip into a fight for survival? What would you do if, within minutes, the wind started howling, trees bending, and the rain coming down in sheets, drenching everything you own? Would you be ready? You've got minutes, not hours, to act. Now imagine this. You're out in the wilderness, far from home, and your life hinges on setting up a shelter fast. But here's the real kicker. Do you have the right tools? Do you know the right steps? Stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll know how to set up a wind and rain-proof shelter in minutes. I'll walk you through the exact items you need, step-by-step techniques, and some little-known survival hacks that could save your life or the life of someone you love. Don't think it can happen to you? That's what everyone thinks, until it does. Before we dive into these life-saving strategies, let me make it easy for you. Every single tool you need to build this shelter fast, from the tarp to the paracord and multi-tool, can be found right now in the link I've pinned in the comments. Don't wait until you're caught in a storm unprepared. Check it out and get your gear ready today. Picture this. You're camping with friends or family. A sunny afternoon starts to darken, almost too quickly. A strange silence settles in. The birds stop chirping and then, boom, the skies open up. Rain hammers the ground like nails, and the wind starts ripping through your camp. Tents collapse. Bags are soaked. Your group panics. You look around, realizing no one knows what to do. You're cold, wet, and exposed. That's how hypothermia starts. What started as a fun trip becomes a survival situation in seconds. Why am I telling you this? Because I've been there. I've seen people suffer from cold, hypothermia, and panic, all because they weren't prepared. But you don't have to be one of them. By the end of this video, you'll know how to set up a shelter faster than the storm can take you down. Let's get into it. The essential gear. To set up a quick, reliable storm-proof shelter, you don't need an entire toolbox or fancy equipment. You need just a handful of essential items, ones you can carry with you anytime you head outdoors. Here's your must-have survival gear checklist. Survival tarp or multi-use shelter lona. This is the hero of your shelter system. A high-quality survival tarp is waterproof, wind-resistant, and lightweight. Choose one with reinforced grommets, the little metal holes, for durability. If possible, look for reflective coatings on one side. They retain body heat in emergencies. Paracord or survival rope. Paracord is a game-changer. It's lightweight, versatile, and strong enough to hold against the wind. Aim for at least 50 feet of 550 paracord in your kit. Multi-tool or survival knife. Whether it's cutting rope, shaving wood for stakes, or creating improvised tools, a reliable multi-tool will be your best friend. Tent stakes or improvised anchors. Stakes help pin down the corners of your tarp. If you don't have stakes, don't worry. Rocks, logs, or even strong branches will do the trick. Emergency blanket. This isn't a must, but it's a great add-on. You can layer it under your tarp for added insulation and rain protection. You're not carrying a load of gear here. All of these items are lightweight, portable, and fit easily into your backpack or car kit. Step by step. How to build a storm-proof shelter in minutes. Now, we'll walk through the exact steps you need to follow to build a storm-proof shelter using minimal tools and gear. Whether you're in a dense forest or open plains, these simple techniques will ensure you stay dry and safe until the storm passes. Here's how to set it up in just minutes. Choose your location carefully. Your shelter's effectiveness depends a lot on where you build it. Look for an area with natural protection, such as large trees, a hill, or rock formations that can block the wind. Stay away from valleys or low-lying areas where rainwater can collect and flood your shelter. Ideally, you want to build on elevated ground with good drainage. Set the ridge line. The first step in shelter construction is setting up a ridge line, which will act as the backbone of your shelter. Take your paracord and find two sturdy anchor points, like trees or large rocks, about 10 to 15 feet apart, depending on the size of your tarp. Tie the paracord tightly between these points, ensuring it's strong enough to hold the tarp without sagging. You want a slight angle to the line, so rainwater will slide off the tarp and not pool. If you don't have two anchor points nearby, use the tallest tree nearby as one anchor and stake the other end into the ground. Drape the tarp over the ridge line. Once the ridge line is secure, grab your tarp and drape it over the paracord. Make sure the tarp is wide enough to cover you from head to toe, creating a slope on both sides. The sloped shape will prevent rain from collecting on the tarp, directing it to the sides. Be mindful of the wind direction. Position the tarp so the lower side faces the wind, allowing it to deflect rain and keep you dry. Secure the tarp to the ground. The next step is to anchor the tarp firmly to the ground. Use your paracord to tie the corners of the tarp to nearby trees, rocks, or stakes. If the ground is soft, you can use tent pegs or sharpened sticks as stakes. Make sure the tarp is pulled tightly. This will prevent the wind from getting underneath and causing the tarp to flap. The tighter the tarp is, the more stable it will be in harsh weather. Create a shelter barrier with extra layers. While the tarp keeps the rain out, you still need some ground insulation to stay warm and dry. Lay down leaves, pine needles, or an emergency survival blanket to create a cushioned barrier between your body and the cold ground. If you have extra gear, such as backpacks or sleeping pads, use them as additional insulation. This helps you retain heat and adds a layer of comfort, especially in cold or wet conditions. Adjust for maximum weather protection. If you notice the rain is particularly heavy or the wind picks up, you can adjust your shelter to increase protection. Add additional paracord to extend the tarp further and create a small runoff channel to direct water away from the shelter. In extreme conditions, consider lowering one side of the tarp even further to shield against wind or blowing rain. Check for gaps and reinforce. Before you settle in, walk around your shelter and check for any gaps or areas where wind might sneak through. Tighten up any loose knots or paracord to make sure the tarp stays in place. If necessary, add extra layers of leaves, branches, or anything else you can find to further secure the shelter and keep the weather out. By following these simple, quick steps, you'll be able to create a storm-proof shelter that'll keep you dry and protected, no matter the severity of the weather. The beauty of this setup is its simplicity. You don't need any advanced survival skills, just a few essential tools and some basic knowledge. With practice, you can set this up in under 10 minutes, giving you more time to focus on your survival in the elements. Now that you know how to build a basic storm shelter, let's take it to the next level. In this section, we'll explore advanced tips and strategies that will give your shelter extra durability and help you survive the most extreme weather conditions. These adjustments can be the difference between staying dry and warm or getting soaked and freezing. Let's dive into how you can make your shelter as stormproof as possible. Use a double layer of tarp for extra protection. If you have more than one tarp or can find a second one, consider using a double layer. By overlapping two tarps, you can trap a layer of air between them, which acts as insulation, keeping you warmer in cold conditions. A double layer also adds an extra barrier to rain, making it much harder for water to seep through. Secure the second tarp over your first tarp in the same way you did with the first one, ensuring both are pulled tightly and there are no gaps. Create a windbreak with natural materials. One of the most crucial parts of making your shelter stormproof is reducing the impact of wind. High winds can rip tarps and make your shelter less effective. To combat this, use natural materials like large branches, boulders, or snowbanks to build a windbreak around your shelter. Place these materials on the side facing the wind to direct it away from your shelter, helping to keep the inside calm and dry. If you're in a wooded area, you can use nearby trees or thick brush to further shield your shelter. Construct a lean-to shelter design. While the basic tarp shelter works well in most storms, sometimes you may need something more stable. A lean-to shelter uses branches to create a framework that you can cover with a tarp. This design is more solid, as the structure of the branches adds stability to your shelter. Find two strong trees or poles and lay long branches across them to form a slanted roof. Once the frame is secure, drape your tarp over the frame and fasten it tightly to the ground. This design can withstand heavier winds and rain and gives you more room inside. Add a drainage system. If you're facing particularly heavy rain, a drainage system can keep your shelter from flooding. Dig small trenches or channels around the edges of your shelter to direct water away. If possible, aim to create a slope around your shelter so that water naturally flows away from your shelter. This is especially useful when you're setting up in an area that has soft ground, where water can quickly pool around your shelter. Build a fire pit near your shelter. Once your shelter is up, consider building a fire pit nearby, but not too close. A fire can provide warmth, light, and a means of cooking food. Make sure the fire pit is well away from your tarp and any flammable materials, but close enough that the heat helps you stay warm. If you're in a wet environment, build the fire with dry kindling and use a fire starter like magnesium or flint. Having a fire gives you the advantage of staying warm and dry, especially during chilly nights or after a rainstorm. Camouflage your shelter. If you're facing a storm in a survival situation, stealth can be as important as staying dry. You don't want to be easily spotted by predators or other individuals in a chaotic environment. Camouflage your shelter with branches, leaves, and natural materials found in your surroundings. This will not only help you stay hidden, but also provide extra protection from the elements. The more you blend in, the more secure you'll feel, knowing that you're less likely to be disturbed. Use a tarp hammock for comfort. If you're in an area with rising water or muddy ground, you might want to create a hammock-style shelter. Suspend your tarp above the ground using paracord, creating a platform for sleeping or resting. You can use ropes or straps to secure your tarp at both ends, allowing it to hang above you. This setup keeps you off the cold, wet ground, improving your comfort and warmth while keeping you safe from flooding. By following these advanced tips, you're not just building a shelter to survive the storm. You're building a shelter that can withstand almost anything nature throws at you. Whether you're in the middle of a downpour, battling high winds, or protecting yourself from freezing temperatures, these strategies will give you the best chance of staying warm, dry, and safe. Building a storm-proof shelter is more than just knowing how to put up a tarp. It's about using the resources around you, thinking creatively, and preparing for the worst. The more you practice these techniques, the quicker and more efficient you'll become, allowing you to handle even the most extreme weather with confidence. Remember, the storm may pass, but your shelter can keep you safe until it does. Let me paint the picture again. Only this time, you're prepared. The wind is howling, the rain begins pounding, and panic spreads in your group. But not you. You pull out your survival tarp, your paracord, and your multi-tool. In minutes, you've secured the tarp into a wind-deflecting shelter, the ground insulated, and your group safely huddled underneath. While others are drenched, shivering, and unprepared, you've turned chaos into calm. This isn't just about comfort, it's about survival. In harsh conditions, hypothermia can set in within 20 minutes if you're wet and exposed. What would you rather be? Helpless and cold, or the person who stepped up, led, and saved the day? The difference between those two outcomes is knowledge, preparation, and having the right tools on hand. Here's something most survival videos don't tell you. Your mindset is half the battle. When bad weather hits, people panic. They freeze, hesitate, and make mistakes. Survival is just as much mental as it is physical. Stay calm and act fast. Panic wastes precious seconds. Focus on the steps you've learned. Choose the location, set the ridgeline, anchor the tarp. Work smart, not hard. Don't overcomplicate things. A simple, sturdy shelter is all you need to stay dry and protected. Know your gear. The worst time to learn how to use your tarp or tie a knot is during a storm. Get familiar with your tools beforehand. This confidence comes from preparation. Once you know you can set up a shelter in minutes, no storm can shake you. Waterproof gear essentials. When it comes to staying dry and protected, having a tarp shelter is just the start. You need to think beyond the structure. Your gear and clothing must also be waterproof. Start with a quality rain poncho or waterproof jacket to shield your body from heavy rain. Dry bags are another must-have. They keep essentials like food, clothing, and electronics completely dry no matter how bad the weather gets. And don't forget waterproof boots. Wet feet can lead to blisters, infections, and hypothermia in cold conditions. For smaller items, consider zip-seal bags or waterproof cases to keep survival tools like fire starters, maps, and phones safe. The goal? Build a complete system of waterproof protection so nothing, not even a downpour, can stop you from staying warm, dry, and ready for anything. Why you need this skill today? You might be thinking, why do I need to know this? I'm not out in the wilderness every weekend. Fair point. But storms don't wait for permission. You could be at a campsite, in a roadside emergency, or caught in your backyard when a freak storm rolls through. Natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, or flash floods can turn everyday places into survival zones. Even urban preppers know the importance of lightweight, reliable gear like a tarp shelter. Knowing this skill gives you an edge. It's not just for camping. It's for any situation where protection matters. Final recap: the steps to survival. Let's go back to what you've learned today. Gear essentials: survival tarp, paracord, multi-tool, stakes, and ground insulation. Location matters: windbreaks, high ground, and clear space. Quick setup: ridge line, drape and secure, angle for the storm, insulate the ground. Survival hacks: pre-tied knots, makeshift stakes, and using what you have. Mindset is key. Stay calm, work smart, and act fast. Master these steps, and you'll be ready to face any storm. No panic, no hesitation, just action. Now here's your challenge. Are you ready to take this skill seriously? Go grab a tarp, paracord, and a multi-tool. Test these steps at home or on your next outdoor trip. When the storm comes, and it will, you'll be the one who knew what to do. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend who needs to know this, and hit subscribe. I've got more survival skills, hacks, and gear breakdowns coming your way. Remember, preparation is what separates survival from disaster. So stay sharp, stay ready, and I'll see you on the next one.